everybody, and welcome back to Step Into the Light podcast with Queen of Light and
Sunena.
Hello, everyone. So we are excited to talk about just an interesting topic today that a lot of people don't necessarily cover.
Right.
And it's about menstruation.
And how periods relate to the moon cycle.
Exactly. So if you think about divine feminine energy,
Yes.
Divine feminine in the tarot is the element of the moon. And so the moon has, all of these cycles and phases over the course of a month, just like the menstruation cycle of a feminine, right? And so I think it's important for a lot of us to understand what these significant cycles are. So we're not going to go through all, obviously, 28 to 30 days of the month, but what we're going to do is we're going to highlight 4 specific cycles, and it's the white moon and the red moon, which most of you are probably familiar with, and we'll talk about that today. But we're also going to talk about the 2 moons that are in between the red and the white, which is the purple moon and the pink moon. And each of those colors signify a specific time in your life that you may be experiencing if you are menstruating with those moons.
Right.
But so the white moon is when you are menstruating with the new moon. So when you think of the white moon, you think about the fertility and the power of women. You think about that mother archetype, that maiden archetype. You think about white moon women back in the day, were really in the pagan times or way back when. It's about good mothers and birthing, nurturing babies, caring for your homes, caring for families.
Right.
But this is also the energy not just about birthing children, it's birthing ideas, birthing a project. It's about creating. So anything around creation. So if you are in the white moon cycle, that means you are bleeding, menstruating with the new moon. And so some questions to ask yourself when you're bleeding with the white moon, the new moon, is: are you desiring children, or are you spending a lot of time mothering? Another thing is, if you don't have children, are you taking on the role of nurturer, on the role of mothering? Mm-hmm. So whether you're like a teacher to children, caring for children, or you're in an energy of caring for a family member, nurturing them, or are you growing a creative project or a business that requires a lot of nurturing energy? So those are the questions to ask yourself, when you look back at your cycle. Hey, am I in the new moon? And then look at yourself, introspect a little bit and ask, am I desiring children, or am I doing something that is more on the nurturing end? And so the white moon, again, is the new moon, which means you ovulate with the full moon.
Right. So I'm going to quote a website called highbrowhippie.com. This website says that prior to electricity, when women could turn on lights at any time of the day or night, mm-hmm. It was more easy to regulate your cycle and sync up with phases of the moon. Mm-hmm. That being said, when a new moon begins, a new cycle begins, right? So that would mean that you're menstruating with the new moon. Correct. That would mean that you're ovulating with the full moon.
Right.
And this website says that, and I quote, "Our biological blueprint is to ovulate when there is the most light in the sky."
Yes.
And that would be the full moon.
That makes total sense. Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of people are like, even if someone is like trying to conceive or whatever, they say, listen, I'm not saying this is foolproof, okay? All I'm saying is, if you want to sync your cycle with the moon, they say sleep under the moonlight, right? Yeah. And so I know that when I just like to sleep under the moonlight in general, mm-hmm. right? When the moon is full.
Yeah.
So whenever the moon is full, I open up all my blinds, I let the moon in,
right.
And I just so happen to be cycling with the white moon,
That
the
makes a lot
new
of
moon
sense.
now. But you can change that. And I've also noticed that when I do a lot of webinars, when I do a lot of coaching and healing sessions, then I notice that I go into the red moon cycle.
Really?
So it's interesting because it's wherever you're spending a lot of time, right? So let's talk about the red moon. The red moon is the energy of this sage, okay? So when you think about the red moon, so it's like Sunena just said, when you're in the white moon, which is the new moon cycle, you are ovulating with the full moon. So the red moon is the opposite, okay? The red moon is when you are bleeding with the full moon, but you're ovulating with the new. Okay, so we're not trying to make this too difficult, but stay with us. So the red moon cycle is the archetype of that is the wise woman. She is the healer. She is the magic maker. She's the wisdom keeper. And so when people are in that red moon energy, you think about someone who spends a lot of time teaching or coaching or helping and developing. This is the woman who is in that red moon cycle. And so when you're in the red moon cycle, and it's also like the medicine woman type of energy, like midwives, wisdom keepers of like the community, people who have already given birth, right, that are now in this energy of helping people grow. So they've already given birth. They've already given birth to the project. So now they're in this energy of, they know who they are. They're already in this full power. Not to say that when you're in the mother energy that you're not, but you're also focusing a lot on other things, nurturing other people, nurturing other projects. The sage energy is that energy of she knows who she is and now she's healing and she's of wisdom and she's teaching and she's coaching. And so that's that red moon energy. So if you're in the red moon cycle, some questions to ask yourself to check that energy is, are you desiring, expressing yourself more, right? Communicating more. Has your role of mothering children finished? Like, are you done with that at this stage in your life, right? Or is child rearing or childbirth something you're postponing for the future so that you're in this energy of this sage? It's also a energy where you should think about, am I getting some mission calling? Is some mission coming in around, do I want to be a healer or am I a wisdom sharer? And so that type of energy where you want to help the world outwardly. Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
So that's the red moon. And so it's very interesting because I love the red moon. Red moon is super powerful. I love the white moon too. But those are very polar opposite energies. Very polar opposite. You have the full moon and the new moon. So the full moon energy is very different, and it's not easy to get into the full moon, but I do notice, at least for me personally, that when I'm heavy into teaching, heavy into healing in my schedule and coaching, all of a sudden, if I do that for a long period of time, then my energy starts to shift.
It's so interesting because lately, I just want to say, I got my period this month on the exact day of the full moon. And I actually got it a day later, which is strange for me, so that I would get it on that exact day. And like you said, I've been focused on working. I've been focused on, doing my homework. I've been focused on things outside of myself, just like you said. And I'm perfectly synced up with the red moon cycle.
And you're also postponing childbirth later.
For sure. So yeah, that's totally on point.
That's so awesome. So those are probably the two most widely known cycles. But what people don't talk about are like those waxing and waning energies, right? So the pink moon woman is when you are menstruating with the waxing crescent moon. So that means waxing is when something starts to get bigger, right? Wax on. Then wax off, like in Karate Kid.
So this is the phase of the moon where the moon
starts to grow.
Is growing.
Exactly. We're getting into the full energy, right? So this is when you are growing towards something bigger, fuller, bolder, brighter, okay? So this is also with the maiden archetype. So when you think about the white moon that we just talked about with the new moon energy, right?
Yeah.
That's that fertile period, that mother energy.
Definitely.
Now this pink moon, when you think of the color pink, you think of innocence and freshness.
Right.
And it's that maiden energy. So when you think of that maiden archetype, you're thinking of that go-getter, someone who's like enthusiastic, mental clarity, has a lot of freaking energy, right? It's ready to go and just take on the world. So the waxing phase, it's not the new moon anymore. And it's not the full moon either. It's in between, but it's getting bigger and more vibrant. So the pink moon woman is probably someone who's in this energy of self-discovery, right? She's not the sage, and the sage knows who she is.
Right.
She's in the energy of, who am I? Who am I becoming? What's my purpose? Like, what am I here for?
Yes.
So it's an energy of, when you think about it, like in the terms of like a young woman, you would think of someone who is younger but is freeing themselves from like a childish self,
It's
right?
It's like a young woman trying to find herself.
Yeah,
find
it's like
who
someone,
she is.
exactly, someone going into womanhood,
Exactly.
right? So when you are in this energy, some things to think about, okay, when you're in the pink moon cycle, some questions to ask yourself. Are you in a time of transition in your life? Right? Maybe you're wanting to do something different. Maybe you want to be unconventional. You're a go-getter. You want to do something different. You don't want to go with the grain. You want to go against the grain. You want to be your own person, right?
Yeah.
You want to fight for what it is about who you are. And this is also this energy, like you're having this drive to just step into the world and just do something daring. So maybe it's, you want to be a social media influencer, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You want to like, march and be for social justice. So that's kind of pink moon, ready to take on the world. You're leaving this young girl energy behind and you're going into this young adulthood.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
That totally makes sense.
I like the pink moon. The pink moon is cool. We've all been there. And that's the other thing I want you guys to know. It doesn't matter about age.
Yeah.
It's about just what is transpiring in your life at this time. Because you can have, if someone's like in their 40s or late 40s and in the new moon cycle, doesn't necessarily mean they're wanting to have kids. I'm not saying that they can't. I'm just saying we've all been in these energies throughout the stages of our life.
Exactly.
So it's really about what you are going through at this time.
For sure.
So the pink moon. Now this takes us to the final moon that we're going to cover today, and that is the purple moon. I don't know why, but every time I see that I think of purple rain, but it has nothing to do with purple rain. But the purple moon is the waning moon, okay? The waning moon energy is when things start to go dark.
So this would be when the moon is slowly getting smaller back into that tiny crescent, right?
Exactly, exactly. So the purple moon is the waning moon,
right?
Which is about a quiet stage. So when you think when things get darker, it's a quiet stage.
Okay.
It's a time of self-discovery, self-reflection. You're taking a deep, deep descent into your inner wisdom.
Would it be like hermit energy?
Kind of, yeah, kind of. In a good way, yeah. Like a hermit sometimes could be like, I just want to like hide away from the world.
And self-reflect.
But this is more of a self-reflection, like soul-searching energy.
Right.
So this waning moon is more like the enchantress. When you think about the enchantress, you think about the high priestess. You think about the intuitive. You think about someone who has to go within and hone in this powerful intuitive energy. It's wild, it's fierce, it's spiritual, but it's internal.
Right.
So when you think about the waning energy, you think about like autumn, right? It's like the autumn is when, things are shedding. It's like this transformation, this metamorphosis, right?
Yeah.
Where we've gone through spring and summer and now things are starting to fall right before we get to winter. And so we're in this energy of shedding energy, right? So when you think about this waning moon, some things to ask yourself, like maybe you're changing careers, right? Maybe you're in a transitional time where maybe you want to, work from home more, right? Maybe you want to take more time and think about your personal life more. Maybe you're yearning for some sort of sexual awakening. There's some sort of transformation that's happening. Maybe you're becoming more independent of your children. Maybe it's time to let them go, and because you're done nurturing and caring and mothering. Maybe this is the time that they're going off to college or something, right? Maybe this is an energy where you're making peace with not having children, whether it's by choice or circumstance. So it's an energy where you're starting to take stock of your life, okay? You're doing this energy it's in this energy of, I've come this far.
Yeah.
Is this what I envisioned for myself?
Uh-huh.
Is this where I want to be? How do I proceed from here? It's this introspection where you're looking and you're pulling yourself inward to get quiet and to dig deeper. And you're really wanting to get into a deeper purpose of life. Okay? Wow. And it's also an energy, a lot of people talk about this purple moon around sexual energy. So have you claimed your sexual power as a woman in this sensual power? Are you expressing yourself sensually? Like, it's this deep comfort and this energy of really being comfortable with who you are. Okay. And so when you think about the High Priestess specifically in the tarot deck, the High Priestess is this unattainable. Like, she is alluring, she is sexy, she is mystery, she knows who she is, but she's also not saying too much about who she is. But she's also someone who is desired and desired by many. And that's because she's in the process of really claiming that power, and she's outwardly exuding it without saying anything. Does that make sense?
This is really reminding me, and it always comes back to Disney movies, but this is really reminding me of Elsa when she left the castle, and she just needed time and self-isolation just to look within and analyze herself and who she is. Right. And she was literally the queen, unattainable, like you said, right? And
she was cold.
That she's powerful.
Right.
But she just needed that time to self-reflect, look within herself, and be alone. Right. And shed everything that she needed to
let
shed.
It go.
Let it
go.
Exactly.
Let it go. So, this is about letting go. Yeah. It's about letting go and going within.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
I thought this was really interesting. I don't feel like people... What'd you say?
I said build your own ice castle.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if you think about the High Priestess, she looks cold, right? Yeah. In the decks. She's in blue and white. And hey, Elsa was kind of in blue and white.
That's so interesting.
So, it's just... I don't feel like we talk about this enough. Not you and I, but I'm talking about like the community.
Oh, for sure.
And I think it's a very interesting topic because feminines do cycle with the moon. Our body changes with the moon and its cycles. And so the thing, again, that I want to reiterate is that we have been through these cycle, each phase throughout our lives to date. And there's not one cycle that is better than the other. Definitely. It is just an energy of where you are at that point in time in your life. And so I also want to say, if you are changing cycles and you're irregular, I feel like that's like a Western medicine term. If you think about, it's not irregular. You're changing because your life is changing. You're changing cycles because you're changing on the inside. You're growing in some way. You're going internally in some way. You're changing in some way. And Western medicine will say, oh, well, if you didn't cycle on the 28th of the month and then you're irregular and blah, blah, blah. No, you've got to go within. Ask yourself those questions that I posed already in the podcast through each cycle. Ask yourself, is this changing? Because why? Ask yourself those questions. Yes. Go within, check those answers out, and really pay more attention to your body because only you know. Medicine only knows medicine and what they're tracking. And I'm not saying I'm a doctor, so if there's any problem, then always go see a doctor.
No, I just wanted to say, a few months ago, my cycle, and I'm always regular, but a few months ago, things were kind of off. Yeah. So I did talk to my doctor. My doctor's amazing. And she said, has there been a change in your schedule, like in your sleep schedule or whatever? And I was like, yeah, actually there has been because, quarantine started. All of a sudden I had Zoom classes in the middle of the day. I would sleep until noon. So yeah, I had a major change in my schedule. Mm-hmm. And she said, okay, give it a few months. Let your body get used to it. Mm-hmm. And so in order to let my cycle regulate, I needed to regulate my own schedule, right? Right. So I let that happen. A few months later, my cycle is just regular again.
Yeah, well, regular in terms of whatever that means.
My
for
cycle is
yourself.
monthly, yeah.
Right. So I just feel like it's all of these different energies that affect our internal energy field as
Yeah.
well as externally. So we hope that this podcast has helped you guys understand some cycles for specifically the feminines. And we hope you enjoyed the podcast. And stay tuned for another episode. And if you want to book your own personal reading, coaching session, or healing session, go to queenoflight1111.com. Thanks for listening, everybody.